Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Part 2, The Sequel Continued, a show where we watch a movie, talk about it, and then conceptualize a sequel that nobody asked for or could even pay for. I am Roger.
I'm Xavier.
I am Jett.
And in this episode, we're going to be talking about a movie that kind of went through the meme ring for a while, Inception. Any thoughts, fellas?
I watched this movie just now. I finished it 15 minutes ago.
I literally finished it maybe an hour ago, and I had to run to the store. I was worried I was going to be running a little late. So
Amazing.
I have seen this movie once before. I have seen it talked about endlessly ever since. And man, the internet plays a trick on you, where when something gets talked about a lot and it's popular, you start thinking, I guess that wasn't that good, and I'm just a sheep or something. But then you frickin' watch it again, and I'm watching this movie like, this is a good frickin' movie. Good job, Mr. Nolan.
I remember watching this movie for the first time, and I found it very masturbatory for Mr. Nolan. Like he was doing his best. He was just like, people are gonna be so confused. And then, here's what I will say. And I don't know if it's connected. I don't know if these dots can be linked together in any way, but about 3/4 through the movie, and I watched this last night, I should say, I had a full-blown panic attack.
Oh my god.
I couldn't breathe. I was nauseous. I was pale in the face. I threw up 4 times.
Were you just thinking about dreams?
Well, see, at first I was feeling it in my chest, and I was like, man, I'm feeling way more than the first time I watched this movie. Like, it's really getting to me. And then we paused it, and I was like, oh, no, that's my body.
Oh, like, I'm having carbon monoxide poisoning right No, what happened?
No, I don't know. I didn't drink water all day, and that was probably a big part of it, but but yeah, I was dehydrated. I couldn't breathe. I sat in a very, like in a shower for like just sitting down in the shower, just surviving.
Jesus Christ.
I don't think it had anything to do with the movie, but if it did,
okay. Are you sure,
I'm gonna
Roger?
I'm gonna contact some lawyers.
Issues.
Oh,
and we do know that's
I guess it
big
does.
thing for you, yeah.
Yeah. So before we jump into sequelizing, I have a synopsis for you folks.
Yes.
Something we didn't do in the last episode that I think should be a continued theme is a spoiler alert. Sound the alarm!
Wee woo, wee woo,
wee woo,
wee woo,
wee woo. Yeah, let's do something that even Inception struggles to do and explain Inception.
Right. Jett, you gave us kind of a Christopher Walken alarm there. Wee woo.
Overlap them.
Wee woo.
Wee woo. This was your father's alarm.
Your father's alarm. I shoved it in my ass. Okay. So, Inception synopsis. I wrote this at work today. Dom Cobb is a thief specializing in corporate espionage. His goal, whatever secrets he's been paid to uncover. His obstacle, the complicated vault that is the human mind. Known as an extractor, he utilizes powerful but vague narcotics in an amazing but vague machine that allows users to achieve shared dreaming. When used on an unsuspecting target, Cobb can literally steal their metaphorical treasures. Now, the movie opens up with Dom Cobb waking up on a beach with nothing more than a gun, a top, and the clothes on his back. He's dried off and meets with Saito, an absolutely ancient human being who claims to recognize Cobb from a half-remembered dream. Then we are shown that exact dream, where Cobb and his partner Arthur are working a heist to extract information from a much younger Saito's mind. Due to a visit from a woman named Ball, the heist goes belly up, and the dream goes bonkers, and everybody wakes up into yet another dream. One that Saito instantly recognizes because his rug is all wrong. They all wake up once again on a bullet train in the, quote, real world, where we get a good look into Cobb's unfortunate familial troubles, which are thrown to the wayside when they discover that Nash, their original dream architect, sold them out to Saito, who offers them a job in the concept of Inception, the nigh impossible task of inserting an idea into the mind of another to let them believe it was their own original thought. After a brief back and forth, Cobb agrees. Saito needs Cobb to change the mind of CEO Robert Fisher into dissolving his father's energy company, as it is Saito's direct competition. In return, Cobb's criminal records will be expunged, and he will be allowed to go back to the US and finally see his children. He is now tasked to build a dream team, consisting of Ariadne, the architect, who designs the dream levels, Eames, the forger, a master dream impersonator, Yusuf, the chemist, a sedative specialist, and Arthur, the point man, an informant, a scout, an ass kicker. And together, they devise the perfect plan involving 3 dream layers, a dangerous task only made more so by Robert's dream security, Cobb's self-destructive mind, and blatantly insane dream wife. Some things go well, other things not so much, but after a long sequence that bounces between the first, second, and third layers of dreaming and a place called Limbo, they get the dang thing done. Robert is convinced to be his own man and build his own future. The end of the movie provides the viewers with a purposefully confusing narrative on whether or not Cobb is awake or asleep. The top continues to spin. You are waiting on a train. The end.
Okay.
Congratulations. I like the way you said Inception.
That's, yeah.
Inception.
Like I'm trying to sell it.
Now, Roger, when you told us that you saw this yesterday, you said you and Jenna got into an argument. Is that over the top?
It wasn't just over the top. The top is an ingredient. In the absolute cake, the fondue dessert masterpiece that is the end of this movie, where we got into the idea on whether or not Cobb was alive at all, if he was stuck in limbo in this, him seeing, or going back to LA, being welcomed back into the United States, seeing Michael Caine, and then being brought back to his children. Was that all something he created in limbo? Or, was everything a success? But we got into that pretty deeply. Not really an argument, but
What's your perspective, Roger? And this is not an Inception theory cast. Of course, this is not 10
not
things
all.
you may have missed in the ending of Inception Explained, but
so here's my thing.
let's get a baseline.
Is that in movies, it is a pretty firm idea that if you do not see a character die, it is safe to assume they did not. Now, when Cobb wakes up on the beach and he goes to see the elderly Saito, they return to that scene at the end of the movie, and he says, "Let's go back. Let's become the young men we were." Saito reaches toward the gun, and then it cuts to Cobb waking up on an airplane in the, quote, real world. However, earlier in the movie, Cobb gets a call from his children. They both sound relatively older than the 2 kids we see constantly throughout the film. And at the end, they are still the same age and size, wearing the same clothing. So, personally, I do not believe he is in the real world. That top will never stop spinning, and his kids are figments of his imagination. I'm sorry.
Interesting. Very interesting.
See, my point of view has always been, it starts to topple, and I get that it cuts away before, just to give people that sort of, that thought. And I also thought the same thing about the kids, because as I was rewatching it, I was like, I know for a fact at the end, it's the same shot that he's been dreaming of the whole time. But we also don't actually know how much time has passed since the last time
We
we
do
saw
not.
the kids.
It could be a few months.
But there's a part where earlier in the film, whenever he's on the phone, the daughter sounds
she sounds
much
a lot
more
older.
grown.
Yeah. But do we know that actually happened?
Oh, fair. All of it was Inception.
Yeah.
That movie incepted in my head that movies are confusing.
From a thematic perspective, of course, the function of the ending is that Cobb has moved on from his traumas and everything holding him back, and he finally just learns to, just accept the reality he's living in, and stops worrying about dreams, etc., right? That's the idea. The point is to emphasize his growth. It's frustrating, though. Like, I want to know what's going on.
So as far as the movie itself in its entirety, I So, Roger, when you sent that message saying that you and Jenna were arguing about it, I mentioned how I literally saw a review for it on a public library website, and it's because I was trying to figure out where to watch it, and I have like a library card, and they have movies online that you can like watch for free. Inception wasn't one of them. But I was going through the reviews, and this guy gave it 1.5 stars, and he was like, "Now I love Nolan, but I went back and I saw this movie, and first off, it's super confusing." And I was just like, oh, I didn't read past that. I was just kind of like, oh, well, I want to know. You're such a huge Nolan fan. What other Nolan movies have you seen
Not
that
Tenet.
aren't?
Yeah, what are those
right?
unconfusing Christopher Nolan flicks you've
Memento,
watched?
Tenet.
Personally,
not Inception, but Interstellar is also pretty confusing.
I don't find the movie particularly confusing because there's constantly there's a line of This is Christopher Nolan's staple. There's a line of dialogue every 2 seconds explaining exactly what's going on.
Yeah, the whole movie is literally exposition. The whole movie is exposition.
Yeah. Oh,
like literally every single scene, they're explaining something.
yes.
Up to the end. Elliot Page's character, the whole movie, is asking questions that move the plot forward.
Yes. And any movie that is confusing should have an audience surrogate like that.
My
You should
favorite,
just help us along.
my favorite moment in the movie it's such a Christopher Nolan thing to do, of having a little line to like remind you of what's going on right now, because like it's so high concept. But one of the things that's explained early on is the idea of like paradoxical architecture, where you can make spaces that don't make sense as they would in the real world because the geometry can be kind of skewed and bent around. And they explain this with that staircase that loops. And then in the third act of the movie, when Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, Arthur, Slickman Twink himself, is like in a big gunfight on a stairwell, they end up like looping around, and the staircase like splits all of a sudden, and he pushes the guy off, and then looks into the camera, winks, and says, "Paradoxes."
Paradox.
Yeah.
No, the movie is pretty. It's pretty overt with what's going on at any given moment.
Yeah, and
Right.
anything that the movie can't explain, they just don't. Like the
Right.
serum thing. They're like, what's in the serum? I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like,
Sleep juice, hey!
And like I can understand if this was a book, yeah. Like tell me. You better tell me what's in that liquid.
Mm-hmm.
But like the machine, they don't even call it anything. Like it's just there.
Yeah, at one point I think they just say, "You recognize this, don't you?" And he's like, "I
Yeah.
sure do." That's it.
I do.
The movie barely has enough time in like a 2 hour and 30-minute runtime to execute its multitude of concepts and tell the slightest bit of an emotional narrative for Cobb. It barely has room. It
Right.
strips away every bit of fat they can. So in terms of sequelizing, I do want to say that if anytime we're talking about, like, if we come up with any kind of scene that would require exposition, I want you, the audience, to be envisioning this exposition happening in no less than 25 separate locations in the span of 15 minutes. It needs to be constantly cutting from location to location.
Like as people are talking,
Yeah.
we got some
The real world of Inception has like way less like continuity than the dream worlds do, because they're constantly cutting between like time periods and locations, and like there must be like a span of 5 months that happens in the first like 20 minutes of the film that's all set
Yeah.
up.
because if you're dreaming together, that's using less actual time. Like you can get 4 months of planning out of the way in about 5 minutes. So
Mhm. So like there's a few directions that I think
that
we
math
can-
isn't correct. I don't want to hear it. Okay.
They don't actually explain the math in the movie.
They do
either.
only once. They say that
Well, they say how
5
it
minutes in the
correlates.
real world is an hour in the
Yeah,
dream
but
world.
then later
Yeah.
on they say that these drugs are even crazier than that, and this sedative has
That's
a different ratio that they don't
true.
explain.
Yeah, that's why they
the
can
more
spend
layers
10
you go
years.
in.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's literally it's like he just pulled a number out of his ass and put it on the
It's just
page.
pretty good.
So,
There are a few sort of broad directions, right? I mean, the thing is, right, there's an immediate split in the direction that we go, right? I guess there's 3, right? One is we keep the concept, given a completely new cast, right? The other is that we try to carry forward with the same cast. And if we go with that option, or at least any of the same cast, right? If Cobb is in it at all, we gotta decide whether or not the top falls.
I don't think Cobb's in it. I think because his story was already completed, you know.
I tend to agree.
He got what he was looking for. I think the other characters were far more interesting than him anyways. Like Arthur's character, I want to know more about that guy. What was his name? Eames?
Eames. He was cool as hell.
Yeah. I love Eames!
He's so freaking cool.
And I might be biased because I'm a huge Mad Max fan, and
yeah.
I also would really like to see more of Elliot Page's character.
Yes.
Who I'm
also
sure
transitioned.
by the time we make this Inception sequel has been through some changes in his life. Adrienne?
No, Ariadne.
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 Now his name is Adrian in the new movie.
Look, I'll take
Yeah,
Adrian.
that makes sense. So there we go.
Let's write Adrian. I want to know, like, how this, because he's just a student in Inception, a mere child. I want to know how this whole experience, because there's so much room for character insanity with Adrian. I don't know what that is though, but
sorry,
I would
I
like
forgot
to
to
have
put on
him
my
in the
producer
cast.
glasses.
Oh hell yeah, that makes you look like a real asshole. That's awesome.
Yeah, I love these glasses. When I wear my hat forward.
Oh man, Ticket to Flavor Town. Let's go.
Yeah, you kind of look like the manager character from Big Time Rush.
I never saw that.
You
Go
look
ahead,
like a
Jett.
trucker pretending to run a video rental store.
What? I look like if I was to be cast in a movie, I'd be played by David Cross.
You
Okay.
look like someone experiencing colorblind glasses for the first time ever.
And I'm doing that thing where I'm like,
Oh my god, it works.
the blue is less purpley than it was blue. You're like, all right, calm down. Okay, so as the producer, it is up to you to pitch ideas back and forth. And I'm gonna write down all the ones that I think are the most interesting. So far, no Cobb. Cobb is out of the picture. Cobb has basically used up their narrative usefulness. So
He could cameo. He could have some like third act appearance that ends up being super significant, depending on the direction we go with the
he would
broader
probably just-
concepts of this new universe.
If anything, like if we focus on the Adrian character, he could just be a projection that kind of gives them advice towards the end of the movie or something like
True.
that. So
Interesting. Yeah. That could be. Yeah. There's
kind of
definitely
like
something to play with.
Maul, the whole movie was just one of his projections. Yeah.
I think personally, I think it would be cool to go a little bit more linear with this one, with this pitch. But I wanted to
Just one layer.
I mean, in our podcast format, as we're coming up with the plot, I want to start with the start. But I do want to ask, Xavier, did you come up with any specific like sort of high concept pitches that you think might drive sort of the broad elements of it?
No. I like bouncing off other people's ideas, so I was really hoping that maybe you'd have something. The only thing I could think of really was just how I didn't want to follow Cobb.
Yeah.
Like I wanted it to either be one of the other characters or just a completely new story. So if you had an idea for how it starts, go for it.
I thought of a few which are pretty vague, just sort of thematically to bring some spice to it. One, I thought up the idea of maybe in the sequel you have two different teams of sort of dream infiltrators that are conflicting together on some goal, and they're sort of like a spy versus spy game of wits as they're like trying to outwit each other through different layers of dreams.
No, that would be interesting.
It would certainly raise the stakes. Now, one of the biggest like limiting factors I think of it, like the concept of Inception, is for people to share dreams with each other. They have to pull a bunch of tubes out of a briefcase and like hook themselves all up to the same thing in order to share the dream.
Yeah.
If we're gonna have multiple teams of guys, there's no way they're gonna all like be like they're like all standing off with guns pointed at each other, and then go like, "All right, pull out the tubes. We'll settle this another layer deeper."
Well, it could just be because you know how they always have to have somebody watching them. Like awkwardly enough, it was the stewardess on the plane when they were flying.
Hey, I'm so glad you brought that up. Who the hell was that? Who was she?
Well, they did say that they would need to buy out that whole cabin and everything, and then he was like, "I bought the airline." So it's probably just somebody.
The airline.
Yeah, it's probably just somebody.
The character
paid.
The character is named Flight Attendant, and she is played by Miranda Nolan.
Listen, Miranda Nolan, you're coming back. We're gonna need you again. My thing is, did they just tell her like, "Hey, we're gonna drug this billionaire, and you're gonna need to press this button when it's all said and done"?
Yeah, they probably just give him buttloads of cash. Like, who was the dude at the beginning? Like, he kind of just disappears. They never mention him. They never use him again.
So. The guy on the train?
It could easily just have been someone else from Cobb's circle who wasn't important.
Right.
Yeah.
Or a well-paid flight attendant.
Yeah, so my point is, like, they have somebody watching. It could just be another team comes in, points a gun at that person, and is like, "We're going to hook ourselves up now." So...
True. The other option, wireless dream sharing, where you come up with...
almost said mind Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Mind Wi-Fi. That's it. I love freaking mind, because then that solves so many logistical issues in framing these action sequences. Now you have, like, as long as you can, like, knock someone unconscious, you can get in their dream. And that makes it competitive. You don't have to knock them unconscious.
You could just be near them while they're sleeping. Like, in their house. I just mean
as long as you can get someone sleeping. As long as you can get someone down
as long as you can get
way.
A little surveillance van close enough to wherever they're sleeping.
So, that was idea number one. You said you had a couple there, Jet.
The other two, and the idea of two teams could slot into anything, potentially. The other two things I thought of, I was trying to think of different titles. I thought of, like, maybe we can do something that has to do with insomnia, where there's a character who, in some way, like, has insomnia, and that gives them some kind of superpower control over things, or like, maybe there's, like, a lucid dreamer, or something who has full control over their subconscious, because, like, that's one of the big elements of Inception, is that if you are the dreamer and someone is entering your dream, your subconscious is going to kind of try to drive out anyone else who is intruding. So this makes dreams kind of inherently dangerous if they start breaking the rules. This is very kind on special effects budgets, but we don't care about that. So potentially you could have a dreamer that can really control the dreams to do wacky stuff.
So when I'm hearing that, this is a world where there's classes being taught about shared dreaming, right? Like Michael Caine is like a professor that goes over this stuff, and he's the one who suggested Ariadne to be the next architect for Cobb. So these things are just known throughout the world, right? Mm-hmm. So what if corporations started, instead of keeping all of their information on, like, backup drives for computers, they just started sharing it with people who could lucid dream, and they could control their own mind from extractors.
All right. Oh, that's really interesting. So I think that's our playground, right? In the same way that Fisher was the sort of initial focal point character, I think that's what raises the stakes of this, right? We've got one lucid dreamer with like some crazy information in their head and 2 teams of guys trying to get in there. Now, their goal, I don't think it can be as simple as just trying to extract data. The other thing that I thought of is you title them, you make it all about, rather than trying to plant an idea in someone's head, people figure out ways to remove ideas from someone's head, and make them forget something.
About it.
Yeah, and you call the movie Deception.
I'm writing it down. I don't know how long it's gonna last though. Deception ?
I like the idea of 2 teams trying to get a hold of this person. But I think because the first movie, for as big as it was, there wasn't a whole lot going on. You know, there's literally like 3 major set pieces for the kind of climax from when they first get Fisher to when they incept the idea into his head. I want this to be more of a globetrotter kind of movie. Like maybe there's one guy who's trying to, you know, hold these secrets, and there's 2 teams coming after him. But he has to escape the world, and he can't sleep, so he's taking a ton of caffeine pills. He's trying to stay awake, trying to watch what drinks he takes from people, to make sure no one's like knocking him out and stuff. So like the main crutch of being these secret holders is that they can't sleep, right? It's like the opposite of those people in that giant room where they're like, these people come to be woken up because dreams are their reality. But that does present an issue. Yeah, go ahead.
Enter our protagonist, Adrian, a skilled architect who now acts as a dream bodyguard for lucid dreamers, who will accompany people in dangerous situations to go into their dreams whenever they're sleeping, and help them protect, guard those secrets by coaching them how to control their own subconscious within dreams. So what we get is sort of a almost a like buddy cop thing with this like with Adrian playing now the Cobb character, right now the older experienced sort of mentor character, trying to protect this younger dreamer as multiple teams of inceptors try to sneak in.
I like that idea because it also gives us the opportunity to still bring the other characters in, but as the opposing teams.
Now we have complex relationships going on.
Yeah.
Adrian has moved on from this idea of stealing necessarily, or being an extractor, to being like a protector. Now, Jett, you accidentally did 2 things to yourself, and I'm gonna focus on you for this. In the movie, each person was given a special title role, like architect, forger, chemist, point man, stuff like that. The person that bodyguards the lucid dreamer, Adrian, what's the title?
Ooh.
Well, I mean, Cobbs does pretend to be a head of security, of subconscious security or whatever, so it could be something along those lines, like
head of head security.
Head of head security.
Head security.
Okay, I'm putting head in quotations.
I think that's good. It's just head.
Okay.
No
head security
jokes about that.
Now, you also mentioned, sorry, not you necessarily, but you brought up the idea of lucid dreamers. People who store information for these corporations, like secrets that maybe even the CEO, CFOs do not know.
Yeah.
what are they called? Those individuals that hold secrets.
For clarity, I think you just call them lucids. Because I
Lucid
think the
makes sense to
idea
me.
is they can take information, go into their own dream, then go into a dream within their dream, and then a dream within that dream without any need for extra technology. So they can store stuff 4 layers down in their own subconscious,
Xavier, what are you
intentionally, without any outside effects.
So like, yeah, they can do that, and because of that, because they're storing it so deep, they don't actually know the secrets. So the only way to get those secrets
Oh.
is to go into their dreams and extract them.
Right, you can't just
Yeah.
like break their fingers and be like, "Tell us the truth." Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Let's. I like this so much. Can we drop into narrative? Producer, can we drop into narrative and start frickin' outlining this thing?
Xavier, we're gonna need one more character to care about and to die later. So give me that.
Um.
I want to say this. I do think we should bring in another character that already exists. I don't think it should be Eames. I think that should be one of the leaders of one of the antagonist
Eames
teams.
should be an opponent to be reckoned with.
Well, I think Eames and Arthur should both be opponents to reckon with. But
because they probably split off after, because they had conflict with each
they
other
already
in the
had
movie
conflict before.
that was never resolved.
Y'all
They
say
never
conflict.
They never
Jenna,
started liking
Jenna
each
pointed it out to me that those two were flirting the entire movie.
Yes. Uh-huh.
There was
you
some...
think when I say conflict, I don't mean in a gay way? No, Eames freaking comes up, holds up it says you're gonna have to dream bigger, darling.
Bigger, darling.
And then shoots a larger gun.
Well, actually, you know what? I was like, what happens if the dreamer goes into limbo? But that happens in Inception, and nothing
Right.
happened.
Yeah, okay, so that was something that kind of bothered me about the first one, is they keep talking about how bad limbo is, but all you have to do is die in limbo?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what?
The main thing is
They
that
could've just told him
when
that.
you're in limbo, there's nothing set up to. If your mind
let you
goes into
know.
limbo, it's stuck there unless you die in limbo. The problem with being in limbo is that you don't remember that you are in limbo. And inherently, once you're there, you kind of lose your mind and don't remember that it's not reality anymore. That's the danger of limbo, is that you forget to leave. Not that it's hard to leave.
He's just there, and Maul has him out on the porch, which is
Mhm.
really. He's like, tell us where he is. She's like, I'm not telling you. And then he's like, I'll stay. She's like, he's on the porch.
He's
I
on
was
my
like,
dream
okay.
porch.
All right. But then the other guy, Bill, he just keeps living his same life from the
Well, 'cause
outside
he-
world.
Who?
Saito?
Saito, yeah.
Yeah. He just builds
yeah.
like a little castle for himself.
But
Yeah,
like when
Maul didn't take Saito because Maul knew that Cobb was down there to find Fisher.
but they also said that like all that's in limbo are the remnants of the last person who was in there.
It's not
which
one
was Cobb.
place. It's specifically Cobb's limbo that Saito is now inside of.
You say that.
Yeah.
Well,
but-
but Saito doesn't.
He doesn't know he's in limbo, and he kind of just keeps living the same way he was before, and he grows old. But when Cobbs and God, what was her name
Maul?
in it? No, not Maul.
Ariadne?
Yeah, Ariande. Whenever they go down, it's just in the same limbo that they left behind.
Think so. There's two options here. Is that one? There seems to be a shared limbo, in which kind of all limbos exist, which is either metaphysical or it's because they're all inside of Fisher, and that,
Well, yeah,
that
I think
when
specifically
Cobb
'cause
goes
Cobb
back
was
to when
there.
Cobb goes into any limbo, he ends up going into his own limbo.
Yeah.
But since they're all within Fisher, it all kinds of connects. I think that's probably what's going on.
Well, all that to say, what if the Lucid character is just the new character that we grow to care about? Like,
Oh, okay.
And then
Okay, yeah.
No,
somehow
yeah, I
if
think
he
I
falls
think-
into limbo, it's game over. Despite the fact that he can go as deep as he wants.
that's really
Uh,
good phrasing.
Yeah.
This lucid dreamer needs a name.
I think, yeah, let's frickin' like start with this
Go for it.
lucid dreamer, right? This is a character I'm gonna call
Don't say like Hypnos or something, because like Ariadne is already a pull from Greek mythology, so
Balone.
Balone.
Yeah, I don't know, I
Balone?
pulled up a random name generator,
Sure.
and Balone came up.
Jimmy
Phil, for short.
Falone. So Jimmy Falone is a young man who has been raised from a very young age, like trained to be a lucid dreamer, right? Probably like the child of some like important corporate figurehead.
Or maybe he's like an orphan. They just hire
I was gonna
orphans
say-
to do this.
Yeah, could
What
be. Yeah,
if-
could be sort of like a sort of an inhuman type. Like they
Yeah,
treat these
They
lucids
find
like
kids
cargo.
that have lucid dreams, and they're like, "That's a hot commodity. Get them."
Yes, any child with a high midichlorian count, they'll pull in to be a lucid dreamer. So Falone is this lucid dreamer, kind of raised from birth. You know, not literally bought, but was essentially, you know, bought off, given, you know, so much money to some organization that he is essentially owned by this corporation, and all he exists to do is to keep control of his own subconscious so that other teams can enter his mind, incept knowledge, hide it there, and then leave. And he's able to keep control of his own subconscious so that it's not dangerous for people to do that. There is, we'll say that Falone wakes up, you know, in sort of a very formulaic, humdrum, repetitive life in some facility, and then doesn't even know what he knows, and is then approached and said, "Hey, this facility is shutting down. We need to transport you somewhere else." Falone doesn't want to leave. Falone has probably friends in this compound, other lucids, and doesn't want to go. But ultimately is like, okay, yeah, I don't have a choice. Leaves, and upon leaving is introduced to Adrian, who they're like, this is our head of security that we've hired into this job. And as
Jett, say it correctly.
head security, who we have hired on to protect you when you have to sleep. Whenever you go to sleep, Adrian is going to be in there with you to protect you.
What if instead of them being in a facility, what if he doesn't even know that he's a lucid?
I was wondering
Like,
that as well.
He's just, he has a bank account with unlimited money. He just gets like messages every once in a while that's like next destination, but he's literally just living his James Bond lifestyle, fancy hotel after fancy hotel, and like
Doesn't
beautiful
even
scenic
know
locations.
what's
He just
going
thinks he's
on.
living the life, and then one day Adrian shows up and he
Like, hey,
realizes that
I've
he's
been-
dreaming.
Yeah, it's like, hey, you're in danger.
Yeah, and then action sequence, people chasing him, shooting guns at him. And then he wakes up and realizes that that was all a dream. Adrian's in the room with him, and now they're physically on the run in the real world.
Yeah, they are in the back of a truck. And it's like, hey, you are not who you think you are. You've been kept asleep for a very, very long time. You know, this is your name. This is my name. My name is Adrian. I'm the head of head security. I am here to protect you.
And then this is where the exposition can come in, where it's like, but, you know, we're in this isolated truck. How did these people get in my dream? Remote dream tapping.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
All you had to do was fall asleep. And they're able to, let's do this. Here's what we do, right? Here's how it works. The thing we were talking about earlier where limbo is like, seems weirdly connected in some weird way. Like, why is Saito's limbo connected to Cobb's limbo in some amorphous way? What if all limbo is one limbo? There is a single shared limbo that all dreamers can go to if they go down 4 levels deep. And it is through that shared limbo that people are able to come up through the levels of dreams in order to access dreamers wirelessly. So they're going all the way down. They use a lucid to go all the way down and then come back up through limbo in someone else's head without ever needing to do it, right? So that's the problem. That's the risk, right? Adrian explains. So Fallon's like, but how did they get in my dreams? And it's like, they came to your dreams from limbo. They have a lucid of their own. And anytime you go to sleep, they're still there unless we work our way down through the levels of your subconscious to get to limbo and stop them there.
Hey, do you know what you're describing right now? And it is the title of the movie? Interception.
Yes! Yes, Roger! They call it interception.
Interception.
Look at the camera. Paradox.
Wink.
So it was taking me a second to follow that. I understood what you were saying, and
Yeah.
it makes perfect sense for how this would work. I'm just sitting here thinking, like, man, anybody who didn't understand Inception already
They're really not
lost
gonna understand this.
in the first 5 minutes of this movie. So
here's the thing. They wake up, right? Adrian's explaining this stuff, and then he's like, we're actually still in layer 2. Where we were before, that was layer 3. That's where you've been kept for most of your life. And at this point, Fallon is... maybe that's probably a reveal later, right? Is that they're actually deeper than they think they were the whole time. And this is going to be a big, like, midpoint twist for Fallon, as he's...
Fallon.
Okay. Fallon, yes. Okay, I got it.
Not Jimmy
All right.
Fallon.
Jimmy Fallon. James Fallon, if you will.
So what if these lucid dreamers, they're, because like in Inception, you know, they had the architects design a city or a single floor of a building or whatever. But these lucid dreamers, they don't need architects or anything. They're all of it in one, right? So they can literally dream the entire world. So like, they can go as far as they need to get away from people and still be in one layer. That would then kind of, people would be like, oh, they're in the real world, and then you realize, oh, they're just in this layer. But the dream worlds are so much bigger now.
Yeah, I think
It
that's
could be
because
kind of like a little
lucids
twist.
Yeah, the whole element of like, what are they, figments? What are the, like,
projections?
Projections. The projections are not a factor in this version of the movie. All antagonistic forces are coming from active other interception, or like interception teams breaking in. So yeah, that's what it is, right? Adrian lives this, or Fallon lives this jet-setting lifestyle, is suddenly woken up when Adrian shows up, shoots him. Right, they wake up, they're in the back of a truck. Adrian explain all this stuff about interception, says, you're awake, but we gotta go back down, get to limbo, and then start working our way up through the dream of the enemy's lucid to wake up the enemy lucid and stop them from invading your dreams. And this is Fallon's, like, crossing the threshold, right? When Fallon decides to go back to sleep. And then at some point, after like a whole bunch of action scenes and fighting, they probably encounter Ames in several different wacky locations. They finally get down to limbo much sooner than Fallon expected. They're like, wait, you said that limbo was 4 layers deep. I've only gone to sleep twice. And that's when Adrian's like, I might have lied when I said that the truck was the real world. We were still a layer deep, but it's too late now. We can't pull out. We are very close to getting you out of this and getting these guys to stop chasing you. at that point, maybe Falone is like, no, I don't want to do this. I want to know what my real life is like. I've never even seen. I don't even know what my real body looks like. You know, I don't know if I've ever been awake. And they're like talking to Adrian's like, do you know where I really am? And then Adrian says, I might have lied as well, that I was hired to protect you. I also intercepted. I am a lucid.
What is happening?
What's... And that's how we know we're writing a good Christopher Nolan movie.
Jett, I'm supposed to like recap this.
Mhm.
There's no way I could do this.
I got it all. I know exactly what's going on, right?
Hold on a second. Hold on. You are monopolizing your time. Xavier, what?
Hold on. So I like that idea. I like the idea that it's, you know, we're trotting the entire globe, but we're also still dreaming the entire time.
Yes.
We have Eames on one side trying to get to Falone. We have Arthur on the other side trying to get to Falone, each with their own little intricate team. But one thing that I was thinking, and that so obviously Inception was trying to be the Matrix, but they just didn't go as big. You know, they say dream bigger, and he pulls out a grenade launcher out of nowhere, but nobody is like flying or anything.
Right.
Like the gravity still applies, you know, because it's all in their mind, right? But this is the same thing in the Matrix. So what if they are dreaming bigger this time, and no rules, just people flying?
It's a lucid dream.
Exactly.
They don't
So,
even
like-
need guns. They're shooting bullets out of their fingers. Like, anything goes. And so the ultimate climax, right, is just who can dream bigger. And so they're just throwing, like, different wacky, like, tactics at each other, trying to get to Falone, but it's Falone's subconscious ultimately, so he dreams the biggest.
Yes.
But what does he do to kind of overcome this obstacle? If Adrian lied 3 times and is actually the baddie,
I don't think
obviously-
that.
okay.
Yeah. Please
here's-
explain yourself.
Yes. The basically Adrian only ever told one lie. There is one team that is actually trying to invade, and that's Ames's team. They have a lucid of their own. They've gone to limbo and are trying to come back up to get information out of Falone. Adrian, in reality, does not work for the company that sort of has control over Falone. Adrian was working with Arthur? The whole time. And when they get down to limbo, Arthur's there, and it's like, okay, you got him back down here to this layer. Now we have to do something about Ames's lucid. So that's the premise, is that Adrian has no idea what Falone's real situation looks like. Adrian has never seen Falone's real body. And if Falone actually wakes up to see what his real world looks like, Adrian won't be there to protect him and won't know what he's going to encounter there. So I think probably the area of the world where there is the most kind of insanity is limbo. And I think a lot of our like final act big set pieces take place in limbo. That's where there's like buildings flying around and crashing into each other, and people flying and summoning guns and going insane.
One of them gets
Flying
into
in
the
on
Iron Giant,
Pegasus.
and
yeah.
it just turns
It'd be
into
like
Ready
the-
Player One.
Yeah, it'd be like
Gundams
the
are
ending of Ready
there.
Player One. Yeah.
Can there be a scene where they're in layer 3 and then the lucid dreamer gets knocked out and goes into limbo, but in limbo he gets shot in the head and he comes back to layer 3 and then gets shot ahead and then gets shot to layer 2 and then he gets knocked out and back into layer 3? Like
That's what I'm talking about. There's all of these. There's like 40 guys that are all in frickin' Falone's head on different layers. And there's all of this like constant jumping back and forth maybe Falone gets knocked all the way back up to layer 1, right? Back to the truck. The first dream, while Adrian and Arthur are trapped down way below. Adrian is a sympathetic character. Adrian is trying to help Falone and is trying to say, like, ultimately you need to, like, wake up and you know, get out of this. And probably Arthur is the character that's like is putting opposite pressure on Falone and is like, you know, like, no, we have to do this. You have to stick with the mission and help us find this, or they're gonna get the information and destroy the world or something. And ultimately, Adrian gets back up to layer 1 and is like, I could kill myself right now. I could jump off the back of this truck and I could abandon all these people in my dream and see what my real life is like. And then Adrian or Falone makes the call. I'm going to go back down and I'm going to save everyone.
Right.
I'm going to find out for myself what information I'm hiding. And then
Ooh.
I'm going to make the call to whether or not I want to leak this to the world. And so that's when Falone becomes properly the hero. Starts frickin' destroying stuff all the way back down.
Okay,
Gets
Jett,
down to limbo, finds the other dreamer.
we gotta put a break on you.
You're so
Um,
right.
Sorry,
Xavier,
during
do you have-
during your whole speech there, Jet, I was trying to figure out what the ultimate point of the story was, but then you ended up explaining it, so I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, all right, great.
Yeah, you
Um,
eventually got to where I was like, "Oh, that's a story." Okay, got it.
it.
I think that's the point of the whole thing is do I want to
Keep this short, Jett. I swear to God.
do
So
I
it's-
want to find out my reality, or do I want to help the people who are around me right now?
Okay.
Yeah.
And then ultimately, whether it's worth protecting corporate greed or not. Okay,
Mhm.
great. Okay. So he gets kicked back up to level 1. Has to, because I was also thinking that, like, what if, I mean, if he just wants to wake up, what's keeping him from, like, just committing suicide in each layer, right? But
I think
having
he can.
having Arthur be the voice of reason makes a lot of sense. And then meanwhile, Eames just wants to get the secret, right? Or is he?
Yeah.
He's been paid. Eames the whole
Eames-
time is disguised as multiple different characters. You
Oh,
never
yeah,
know.
that was another
Oh
good.
hell yeah!
Yeah.
You never know
um,
who's Eames. There's gonna
yeah.
be times when Adrian shows up in one layer, and then you find out it's actually Eames. It's like, wait, but you can't be here because you're 3 layers deep.
But not until after Eames as Adrian somehow finds a way to kiss Arthur. Because I think they should kiss. Those two characters need it. And as they're kissing, he turns back into Eames, and Arthur's like, "What?" Okay.
and then Eames is just like, well, it's worth a shot.
And then he kills himself to go to the next layer.
Yeah.
So there's no way I'm going to recap this. Listen, folks, dear audience, if you want to piece this together, build yourself a little red yarn map of what the hell Jett spoke about this whole time.
Roger, it's
It's
obvious.
clear as crystal in my head.
Yeah, Xavier, go ahead.
Falone is living his globe-trotting dream. You know,
Yeah.
he's just in fancy hotels all the time, eating the best foods, yada, yada, yada. One day he gets attacked, gets ambushed, and Adrian is there to save him. And then he's woken up, he's in a truck, he's just like, you know, they're explaining, you've been asleep this whole time, you've been chosen to protect the secret because you can lucid dream. You don't remember this at this point because you've been doing it for so long. They then explain the separate teams trying to come in to get it, how they get into his dream remotely through limbo by going down into limbo in their own subconscious and then coming back up in the layers in this other person's dream. Craziness ensues again in a climactic showdown where everyone's dreaming big and people are getting knocked between layers and going back into other layers. And Falone finds himself in the first layer, finally.
Alone.
Alone. And then
Mhm.
Adrian joins him. And Falone is like, you know, what's keeping me here? Like, why should I keep this secret when all I want to do is wake up and know my reality? And he's got to make the choice to wake up or go down and help the other people that are stuck in his subconscious, because if they die, they will be stuck there. They can't go back through limbo to their own subconscious because they've already gone up into his subconscious. So it would be kind of like being brain dead in the real world.
It's like, are you going to wake up and essentially off all of these people who are trying to steal this information?
Yeah. And so he decides he's going to help the people find out what he's been guarding this whole time and whether it's worth all of this hassle. Goes back down into it. We didn't actually come up with a conclusion. So he's back in. He finds the information. Finds it
because it's hidden in his own subconscious. I think that's the reason that they have to go up through the layers, because they have to find hints throughout Falone's other layers of dreams to find out where the secret is hidden inside Limbo.
Yes, Roger.
The secret is that the corporation who is holding information in his head is housing filing cabinets of human beings that are lucid dreamers, and the information he has is where that is located.
So it's like he's basically
including his own body.
Yeah,
he's the database within the database.
Yeah.
Okay, and obviously he wants to reveal that.
It finally finds
it. It could be dangerous on one hand. People go in, destroy those secrets, and then that corporation is screwed.
Never found, right.
But they're also, it's technically slave labor, so
yes,
free those people, kill those people. Ultimately, he's like, we have this information now. He gives it to Adrian, who now has to go on their own mission to free these people. But
I'm going to trust you in the real world to put a stop to all of this.
And then that kind of leads us into our Inception ending of whether or not Adrian has woken up to go through with this.
I think that's what it is. I think at the end, probably Adrian manages to completely shut his mind off from Limbo, right? It's like, you're not going to be in my head anymore. This is my dream, right? Kicks everyone out, gives the information to Adrian, and says, I'll give you a year. I'm going to wait a year for you to, in the real world, solve whatever's going on there, and then I'm waking up. But right now, I'm trusting you. Because I think probably frickin' if Falone wakes up, that, the whole database is all messed up.
Right.
So I think probably it ends back with Falone goes back up to Layer 1, lives out, several years of his life in his own fully controlled dream world, because he's fully lucid now, knows everything, and knows how to control his reality, and then has to decide, do I leave this reality over which I am God, or do I jump into the unknown and then that's just the beginning of the Matrix. But and then I think probably Adrian or Falone wakes up, but we don't see what his real life actually looks like. We never see what is going on outside of his head. And we just have to trust, in the way that Falone is trusting, that reality must be better than a world in which I am God, even if there could be hardships and pain, in that world.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that is just over an hour. Which, you know what? I think we broke lucky with that.
I think weirdly that is almost a valid conceptual successor that actually advances, at the very least, the concepts.
Right. If we could somehow get this episode into the hands of Christopher Nolan, just for him to play with, we'll take some royalties.
Play some music too loud, make sure none of the dialogue is audible. Make sure every single character, set it during COVID so characters are all wearing masks and you can't understand them.
Do you remember how this movie, Inception, started the whole trend of the big like bomb in movie
Wow.
trailers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like explaining that to Kristen because she had never seen it before, and I was like, this movie is the reason why every trailer does that now. But yeah, no, I think I mean we definitely made a precursor or at least a link between Inception and The Matrix, which I think I'm happy with.
everyone was asking for.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, thank you everybody so much for listening. It has been a pleasure. I hope you had as much fun as we did. I hope anyone had half as much fun as Jett did.
Well, Jett really wanted to make a sequel to Inception.
Yeah.
Oh wait, before we go into the outro though, ideas for the next movie?
Okay. Yes. Do we want to do synopses or do you just want to say the name of the movie?
Mine's is pretty popular, so
Okay.
you know, I actually have two, but
Jett, because you're producing next episode, you say
Yeah.
yours first.
yeah.
Oh God. Oh God.
Did you not have one?
I do. I want to do Snakes on a Plane,
Snakes on a Plane? Okay.
Okay.
which I haven't seen.
I
I'm doing
don't
one that
think
I haven't
I've seen
seen.
it either. But I'm
Okay.
gonna list one that I have seen. I'm gonna go the complete opposite route from action movie with snakes to fantasy with Stardust.
The movie Stardust.
Oh, the movie
Yeah.
Stardust.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm not
with
sure.
a
I've heard of
cross-dressing
it.
Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Love it.
Yeah,
Love it. Mine goes from a cross-dressing Robert De Niro to Jeff Bridges wearing an eye patch. It's True Grit. So,
Okay.
Okay.
but yes. Again, thank you everybody so much for listening. It's been a pleasure incepting with you, intercepting with you.
Yes.
If you had any ideas on maybe the title of this movie, go ahead and pitch it to us. If you had any ideas that you would change from all of Jett's ideas, go ahead and comment those.
Dude, I'm realizing I'm gonna have to make a poster for this.
Yeah, you are.
I'm also gonna write a scene for it.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna be confusing.
Jett, do you have any socials that you'd like to pitch?
You just follow me on Tumblr, YouTube at Jet Kuso. JETTKUSO.
Perfect. X, anything for you?
No, just any of the socials for this page. I'm still running the Instagram currently, so if you want to reach out on there, totally can be posting again a mock poster and a little scene that I'm gonna write up for this and see how that
One
goes.
page of a manuscript pulled
You will
from
do so great. I
Inception
love the
to
last one
Interception.
so much.
the last one was
Yeah.
terrific.
Interception will leave my head or I'll be thinking about this for the rest of my
Right,
life.
you're gonna dream about this one.
Oh
Um,
no! Is it
yeah.
real?
Oh no!
Ah!
Well, everybody, you can follow us on any of the social medias previously mentioned. Most of them are part2_pod. And I believe, hold on, let me check my
we
show
also have a
notes.
letterboxd.
Yes.
That you can join us on at part2_pod as well.
Remember to vote on which movie you want to see next on Jett's YouTube channel. And we will see you next time on part 2.
The sequel.
Continued.
Oh, wait, stop the music. Thank you for Peyton Pedkis for the music of the show. Go ahead, music.
All right.